I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. You remember Jeff Clark from the January 6th committee hearings. Jeff Clark was the low-level, technically environmental lawyer at the Department of Justice during the Trump administration. And he was the individual, really the only person at the Department of Justice who was earnestly backing Donald Trump's coup efforts and the efforts to overturn the 2020 election. And Jeff Clark was the one who worked with Trump and his other lawyers to draft that memo that the Department of Justice was being pressured to send by Trump to states that would tell the states that they needed to overturn the actual vote and replace that vote with declaring Trump as the winner as part of the coup plot, and in connection with, remember, the fake elector plan, where the state legislatures would also submit fake slates of electors to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And Trump and this crew of bandits, of criminals, tried to get Vice President Pence to accept the fake electors and not the real electors and declare Donald Trump emperor and king and overthrow our government. Remember all that? Jeff Clark was intimately involved in that. Fortunately, the Department of Justice leadership threatened Donald Trump and said, if you appoint this Jeff Clark in any leadership position, or certainly if your intent is to turn Jeff Clark into the Attorney General, which was one of the plans, we are all going to resign. Everybody at the Department of Justice is going to resign, and we're all going to make you look like a fool. And Trump, like the little coward he is when he's actually confronted by adults like he was leading up to January 6th, backed down and actually didn't appoint this Jeff Clark criminal to become the Attorney General. Someone who, by the way, had no experience ever conducting a criminal investigation, never did a criminal trial before. This was the individual who Trump had promised was going to become the Attorney General because he was the one who wanted to overthrow the election. You also remember back in June, I believe it was around June 20th, the FBI executed a search warrant at Jeff Clark's residence. Jeff Clark came out wearing his boxers. Part of the search warrant was for his phone. There was also the search of his residence. Well, we're learning more information now about the Department of Justice's ongoing investigation of Jeff Clark. And we've learned this information this week because Jeff Clark is also being investigated by the Washington, D.C. Bar's Board of Professional Responsibility to ultimately suspend and revoke his legal license for engaging in all of this unethical conduct. And in response to the D.C. Bar's investigation, Jeff Clark said, "Please hold off on your investigation because I really can't respond because I'm being criminally investigated by the Department of Justice for various crimes. And in these documents in connection with the D.C. Bar's investigation, those crimes were listed by Jeff Clark. So we have new insight into very specifically, for the first time, what the Department of Justice is investigating Jeff Clark for. And it's part of an investigation into violation of laws concerning false statements, conspiracy, and obstruction. Jeff Clark says that's what he's being investigated for in connection with trying to overturn the results of the free and fair election in 2020. Now, obstruction, we see that a lot in Trump's orbit, trying to prevent legal processes from taking place. But what's also particularly interesting here from the legal perspective is conspiracy. One of the interesting things about the criminal conspiracy statute is that you ultimately don't have to complete the conspiracy to be charged with conspiracy. Having the intent and engaging in the conspiracy to commit the act is enough. And so if there was a meeting of the minds and a concerted effort to overthrow the results of the election with Trump as a co-conspirator, whether or not they succeeded ultimately in that act is irrelevant. And a conspiracy involves more than one person. And so a co-conspirator here would likely be Donald Trump. So when I read this DC Bar report and saw in addition to obstruction, in addition to the false statements, the conspiracy is what Jeff Clark is being investigated for the DOJ. It led me to believe that that also should raise alarms by Trump's lawyers that he could be a co-conspirator there. I firmly believe that Jeff Clark will likely be indicted fairly soon. And as the Department of Justice has climbed the ladders, basically first to like the lower level people and the shaman people and the people who engaged in a lot of the performative stuff, to the more violent people, to the kind of terrorist organizations like the Three Percenters and the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, as they climbed up that ladder and then charge people with trying to overthrow the democracy. The charges have elevated as well. That next tier, if you will, after those three tiers I mentioned, would then kind of be this next ring of people, who I believe, Jeff Clark fits that bill. And I also think that Jeff Clark is the type of person the Department of Justice looks at who would be likely to flip on Donald Trump, staring down potentially the rest of his life in prison, Jeff Clark. And from what lots of reports have said, Donald Trump is actually very worried that Jeff Clark would potentially flip on him. Jeff Clark is not like truly within he's like a wannabe MAGA inner circle, but isn't fully linked. I mean, I think as Trump views Jeff Clark as kind of just like a total loser who just wanted to try to make a name for himself for trying to overthrow our government. But Trump doesn't really have a great deal of control over him like maybe some of the other MAGAs. And so we'll see if Jeff Clark can flip, but I would pay attention very closely to this news about the Department of Justice investigation into Jeff Clark is big news. The fact that it was just confirmed this week what the actual crimes they're investigating for is big news. And I think that we will see, and here's my prediction, the Jeff Clark indictment will likely be the next real big news as the Department of Justice climbs the ladder. But we will keep you updated more, of course, here on the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, hit the subscribe button right now to join the Meidas and Mighty movement. We want to get 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. Help us accomplish that goal. Please hit the subscribe button right now. Here's the other thing. We always get asked, how can we help independent media? I always get the question from people who watch these videos just like you, and you're saying to me, hey, I live here, I live abroad, I live in this country, I live in that country. I want to help grow the independent media network. What can I do? Well, here's the thing. The MeidasTouch Network has no outside investors. Zero. So we're not funded by billionaires. We're not funded by millionaires. I'm not beholden to any advertisers who tell me how I need to run MeidasTouch Network, or investors saying, hey, we'll give you money, but you have to say this. We've rejected all of that. And so we're funded and we're fueled purely by democracy and purely by doing this together. So if you want to be involved and help this grow, you can go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There are various membership tiers there where there's different types of exclusive content. You could even become a producer of the MeidasTouch podcast, and your name will show as a producer at the end credits, and you'll get a poster. There are postcards that we send to people who get one of the membership levels, exclusive podcasts, and other behind-the-scenes footage, and more at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And most importantly, that's a way to keep independent media independent. I truly and firmly believe independent media is the future, but to build that future, we need to build it together, and we're not going out. We're not getting other investors. Let's do that together. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas. Let's keep fighting for our democracy together.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs, It Wasn't Rigged, You're Just a Loser, at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.